Okay, so the pitch idea that I'm going to be doing with, I have a friend who's a award-winning documentary filmmaker, right? I'm meeting with him on Wednesday to pitch a documentary. Essentially, what I'm saying at the actual gym, Zoo Culture, is I'm doing a documentary on the rise of natural bodybuilding, and the actual narrative of the documentary is supposed to be similar to Pumping Iron, only with a bit more perspective on the world of natural bodybuilding as a whole compared to unnatural bodybuilding. And I want to really insert a lot of interviews and discussions on why natural bodybuilding is not as popular as unnatural bodybuilding, and if it's even possible of hitting that level of recognition and renown as unnatural bodybuilding. Yes.
I think it's probably a solid pitch for just getting started. Hopefully that at least piques their interest so that they can ask follow-up questions.
Right.
Now I'm not sure if you could build into the pitch, or how do I put it? If you could build the controversy or intrigue into the pitch in any way, because what we have here is a situation where there's never been more people interested in fitness than ever before.
Yes.
There's never been a bigger health industry than ever before.
Yes.
And at the same time, you have this kind of conflict where once you reach a certain level of fitness, it's assumed that you didn't do it in healthy ways. And many of the people in the sport don't do much to prove that they are being healthy. And so we have kind of this weird thing where there's a whole industry dedicated to spotting who is natural and who is not natural. And really, you can't prove that you're natural. And sometimes you get the sense that people don't actually want anyone who's very good at this to be natural. And you have all of these tensions, between this idea of like, okay, it's important to pursue health, but there's there's this weird limit on what that's supposed to be.
And what it's supposed to look like.
And it seems to activate all these other conversations about cheating in sports, influencer culture, body dysmorphia, male body dysmorphia. All of these things are tied in to this one conversation that, to normal people only pops up as, oh, it turns out this crazy guy who was on a raw meat diet and red was actually, on steroids. But to people in this culture, it's like an ongoing thing. And, down to the fact that you have like 21-year-olds and younger who are already involved in like, are they taking gear? Should they take gear? What stack are they taking?
Yes. Yeah. So the intention of the documentary and the narrative that I would want to insert throughout it is to encourage people to chase their natural limit and understand that like there's gratification in that, as opposed to, it's kind of like removing this whole concept of like, oh, you can only look good if you're on gear. And I just want to figure out if it's even possible to highlight natural bodybuilding to the same level.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Along with that, my idea, and I kind of already mentioned it to you before you left for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be really cool to have it featured in the documentary, the intention to actually turn the world of natural bodybuilding into more of a spectacle, similar to like WWE, where like you have actual narratives running. And I mentioned the persona, and kind of, even in my head, like I think it would be cool to even interview WWE wrestlers to like figure out how they came up with their persona and how they do their stories and shit like that, and then start infusing that into social media and tell the story paralleling that with the documentary?
Yeah, I think that could be cool. I think there's also some interesting narrative tie-ins because a lot of the early guys, how to put it, professional wrestlers were early adopters of weightlifting, very, very early. During decades where a lot of people actually thought that strength training wasn't really useful to athletic performance. And so you have a lot of these guys are like, they were dabbling in both, where like they were really motivated by bodybuilding. And in fact, them taking a bodybuilding body over to places like WWF and, you know, its earlier incarnations is what helped establish that as what athletic looks like. And it's, you know, these places where you have people saying things like 22-inch pythons and, you know, a lot of the bravado, a lot of the posing and stuff like that is because these people are interested in bodybuilding. And there's like
Yeah.
It goes back and forth.
So there's a parallel there.
There's a parallel there because prior to the start of like, I want to say, let me check real quick just to make sure on this. Yeah, so Hulk Hogan doesn't become like super popular until right on the start of 1980s, and then you also have the Macho Man Randy Savage, and you have I want to say it's superstar Billy Graham and a few other people really known for their physique and their massive arms, things like that. But people don't realize this, but like it wasn't until right around that period that we also got a bunch of strength training people who were winning college football games, and then football became, you know, adopted strength training methods, most of which were originally coming from bodybuilding. And so, you know, all at once, in part because of people like Hulk Hogan, superstar Billy Graham, and Macho Man Randy Savage, that idea of being muscular became the definition of what looking athletic was, and that dominates in the 80s and 90s. Because, you know, if you go back to the 50s and 60s, athletes for the most part are like long and lean, and they don't have this sort of muscularity you see today when we're looking at like football players like DK Metcalf.
Right, yeah.
So all of that appearance has to do with bodybuilding, because Hulk Hogan's coming up and becoming synonymous with American culture at the same time that Arnold Schwarzenegger is.
Yeah. One thought that I had earlier this morning is, I think the appeal of unnatural bodybuilding, at least opposed to natural bodybuilding, is that if you're pursuing your natural limitations, you will discover your genetic limitation pretty quickly. After a couple of years of consistently going to the gym, you'll realize, oh, this is what I'm capable of achieving naturally. And I think that for the majority of people, it's a bit disappointing. At least people who are like become really enthusiastic about peaking their physique, and they see the limits of what they can do naturally, and they get kind of like, oh, this is it? Well, what else can I do in order to improve? Because I want to see something really cool in the mirror, and I can't do it without assistance.
I wouldn't be able to say what force, me personally, is most convincing people to do it, but I would say like one factor is frustration with, you know, people maybe not seeing the results that you want. Then some people need the mental crutch. A lot of people start early before they've reached their physical limits. I mean, a lot of the guys who followed, like Mike Mentzer or Tom Platz, would tell you, like, most people don't have the stones to reach their actual limit. So a lot of these people haven't hit that wall yet. Then there's the historical fact, like most of the people, you know, your age and younger who are lifting, they're already born into a culture that's been using gear for a while, so that's just considered normal. Then if you want to get more hypothetical with things, it's like, well, before we go more hypothetical, no, we can go hypothetical right away. I think influencer culture and grind culture merged with this particular version of fitness, to where people are actually getting off on what they're willing to risk to become like really, really fit, or to become a champion. Like, they like talking about their gear stack. They like talking about how, like, no fucking limit, and making their trend jokes and, like, you know, grind. And they don't say it out loud, but there is a part of the culture that's like finds, I mean, many cultures have found drug use to be part of what defines it as extreme, you know? Fucking rock and roll, rap music, take what you want, but a lot of skateboard culture. For a lot of people, that shows your extremeness. It's the willingness to do those things. Plus, you know, doing something illegal can create a kind of band of brothers feeling. You're all in it together, on it together.
So, my idea when it comes to actually interviewing specifically natural bodybuilders, because I want to interview, like, if I can get my hands on Tom Platz, I'm getting my hands on Tom Platz. Like, the sky's the limit so far as who I can actually get in the documentary. But let's say targeting specifically natural bodybuilders, finding out their motivation as to why they want to stay natural. So for me, let's say I'm interviewing myself, my motivation to stay natural is literally just ego. You know, it's like I'm an egotistical person, and the concept of putting foreign substances in my body, you know, it goes against my ego, you know, and it's just that simple. But with someone else, it's like they might have like a different kind of motivation, and kind of honing in on that. And I think through that would give me the opportunity to actually like accentuate the characters that are living in the world of natural bodybuilding.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I mean, I think there's, you know, obvious questions there. If you're being a good interviewer, you're not going to like lead them down any particular path. But you know, there's questions of like, what got you into lifting? How old were you when you learned that people were on gear? What stopped you from taking it at all, or stopped you from continuing to take it? And is it important for you that, you know, audiences or your Instagram following, is it important to you that they know that you're natural, or do you not care? And if it is important, like, why is it important to you? What does it mean to you? Because you could be making more money, potentially.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's, yeah. All right. Well, regardless as to how my meeting with the documentary friend goes, my intention is I am going to start hiring a videographer, just to get the day rate and start the day at my place. When I wake up, he shows up, and then we start filming. We go to the gym together, we film the workouts, we go back home, and like I would just have him for an entire day. And I would probably do a couple of those, and then from there get interviews while I'm at the gym, because like that's the beauty of zoo culture, is that everyone's just fucking filming shit, and no one's signing release forms, no one's doing shit. When it comes time to actually release a documentary, I might look into release forms, but I don't have to worry about that, actually scheduling the interviews. Whoever's around and wants to fucking talk about it, I can just get in the film. And then once that's done and the organic approach is completed, then we start looking at, okay, let's start targeting like Greg Doucette, Tom Platz, the bigger names that I would actually have to travel for. But that would probably come in 2024.
Okay. Makes sense. I could see you even doing that like quarterly, just so that you have the Kanye early years footage, and as your workouts change and your physique changes, and you can say like, you know, 90 days into this, 180 days, for a year.
Yeah, and I think it would be cool for the audience to learn as I learn. So like, the amount of knowledge that I actually have about natural bodybuilding beyond just like fitness and nutrition is like pretty limited. Like, I don't know how to become a pro natural bodybuilder right now. So I think teaching that to the audience as I'm learning it, and then kind of like you said, on a quarterly basis, provide updates and do another day in the life kind of thing, I think that would really create a nice stream or through line. So.
Yeah. I think channeling into what interests you, it would be helpful for you to maybe burrow deeper down than other people do when they interview like bodybuilders and fitness athletes, and ask them like, why do you want to work this hard at this? Like, what really gets satisfied when you grow? What part of you, what about you is being satisfied? Is this a job? Is this the thing out of the different things you're best at? Was this always the dream? Is this a consolation prize after you tore your MCL playing football?
Finding out the core motivation.
Yeah, like, because you can share with the audience that you're trying to do superhero shit. You're attracted just to the idea of, how people write like superheroes. It's like, I have a potential and I'm trying to see the end of it. I'm trying to see all of it. And that's enough for you. It's just like, where does it end? In a sense, you don't know yourself until you know the boundaries.
Yeah.
That's enough for you. It's clearly not enough for other people. So what's driving them? Did they ever see a day where they wouldn't lift? Are they looking forward to retirement?
I like that, and I'm in agreement with you that finding out the differences in the motivations is going to be key to actually highlighting why different people pursue this specific passion and leave drugs out of it. Two.